Precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Romesh Piris and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines: U.S. Secretary of State to hold bilateral discussions with the Sri Lankan leadership. The Prime Minister says, while lockdowns and health precautions can be difficult on everyone, sometimes it's necessary to keep people safe. World Bank commends Sri Lanka on COVID-19 mitigation steps. COVID-19 cases from Minuwangoda-Paliagoda cluster surpasses 5,000 mark. Relief for non-payment of monthly electricity bills in curfew areas. CEB to expedite construction of 100 kilowatt solar power plants. In news overseas, US-India signed pact to boost military cooperation. Sports, cricket. Australia versus India, Rohit Sharma and Ishant Sharma left out of tour squad. Local news in detail now. The United States Embassy in Colombo stated that the U.S. Secretary of State, Michael Pompeo, along with a U.S. delegation, arrived in Sri Lanka for a two-day visit to further strengthen the bilateral relations between the two countries. He was accorded a warm welcome by Ambassador of U.S. to Sri Lanka, Elena B. Teplitz, and Sri Lankan officials at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake last night. During his visit, the U.S. Secretary of State will underscore the commitment of the United States to a partnership with a strong, sovereign Sri Lanka and to advance common goals for a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Mike Pompeo is expected to hold official discussions with the Lankan leadership during his stay. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that the U.S. State Secretary undertook this official visit to Sri Lanka on an invitation extended by his Sri Lankan counterpart, Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. The Secretary of State Pompeo is the highest-level U.S. dignitary to visit Sri Lanka during U.S. President Donald Trump's term. The Prime Minister, Mahinda Rajapaksa, said that while lockdowns and health precautions can be difficult on everyone, sometimes it's necessary to keep people safe. He made this comment during a discussion with the ambassador to Switzerland in Colombo, Dominic Fergler, on a number of areas to further cooperation between the two countries, including investment, exports, tourism, and fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. The ambassador commended the manner in which the government is responding to the coronavirus outbreak by publishing clear rules and enforcing them. Sri Lanka registered 457 positive cases of COVID-19 yesterday alone, recording the third highest daily cases count. The Department of Government Information said the overall number of infections reported from the Minuwangoda and Paliagoda cluster increased to 5,396. The new development has total infections confirmed thus far in the country soared to 8,870. COVID-19 recoveries, meanwhile, reached 4,043. Meanwhile, the National Operations Center for Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreaks stated yesterday that more than 450,000 polymerase chain reaction tests have been conducted so far in Sri Lanka. The government has decided not to disconnect the electricity supply to premises in curfew-imposed areas based on non-payment of monthly bills. Minister of Power Dallas Alahaperuma has instructed the relevant officials on the matter. Quarantine curfew is currently effective in 64 police areas in the country. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. We continue with more local stories. The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Economic Revival and Poverty Alleviation, former Minister Basil Rajapaksa, has instructed the Ceylon Electricity Board to expedite the construction of 100 kilowatt solar power plants and connect them to 7,250 transformers across the country within the next 3 years. Former Minister Basil Rajapaksa also instructed that income-generating organizations such as Samruddhi banks, rural banks, cooperative societies and community network projects operating in the villages should be implemented in such a way that they could invest in this as a project. He also said that tenders are planned to be obtained at the local level. A Pirit chanting ceremony will be conducted today at the Madara Randupataha Upatragara to invoke blessings to overcome the coronavirus pandemic prevailing in the country at present. The Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, along with the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs, supported by district and divisional secretariats in the country, are the sponsors of the event. The Pirit chanting ceremony will be aired by the SLBC on the commercial service, Sinhala National Service, City FM and other regional services between 6:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. That's local news.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
And on the main news story, the World Bank country director to Sri Lanka, Faris Haddad Zervos, has commended the COVID-19 mitigation efforts launched by the government as successful. He said the World Bank will render all assistance in order to continue such efforts. The country director met with Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarachi for discussions. He added the program implemented by the health sector in Sri Lanka to control and mitigate COVID-19 has been very successful in comparison to other countries.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
And on Watchlight, the government has decided to open pharmacies and stores selling essential items in curfew-imposed areas twice a week. The Government Information Department said residents of the Gampaha and Kalutara districts will be allowed to visit stores between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. on Mondays and Thursdays. Residents in the Colombo and Kurunegala districts, where curfew is currently in effect, will be allowed to visit stores on Tuesdays and Fridays between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. That's on Watchlight. And on World News, headlines. US-India signed pact to boost military cooperation. The WHO says Europe's daily deaths due to coronavirus rise by nearly 40% compared with last week. Police shooting in Philadelphia sparks protests. World news in detail. The United States and India have signed a pact to further strengthen military cooperation, including sharing sensitive information. The agreement was signed yesterday at a meeting of foreign affairs and defense chiefs in the Indian capital of New Delhi. It was the third time that the US and India have held 2+2 talks. From the U.S., Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Secretary of Defense Mark Esper attended. India was represented by External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar and Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. The World Health Organization says Europe's daily COVID deaths rose by nearly 40% compared with the previous week. WHO spokeswoman Dr. Margaret Harris said France, Spain, the UK, the Netherlands and Russia accounted for the majority of cases, which increased by a third. Russia reported a daily record of 320 deaths, pushing the tally to 26,589. There has been a sharp increase in Italy too, with 221 fatalities announced in the past 24 hours. The total number of fatalities in Austria went above 1,000 yesterday. Finally, on world news, US media say violent protests have broken out in Philadelphia after police shot and killed a black American man they said had been armed with a knife. Officers ordered 27-year-old Walter Wallace to put down the knife, but he continued to advance towards them. The officers then fired, and Wallace was hit in the shoulder and chest. He was later pronounced dead at the hospital. People took to the streets to protest the shooting. Protests against racial injustice have spread in the U.S. since George Floyd, a black American man, died while in police custody in Minnesota in May. And that came to you on World News.
Development News is brought to you by...
When Aya bought a motorbike, he bought 2 helmets. So sweet of him. I'm sure the other one is for me.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan නෙවෙයි.
The State Information Office says that the Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal presented by the Prime Minister as the Minister of Finance to expand the capacity at the Colombo International Container Terminals. Considering the current demand and future business opportunities for the terminal, it has been decided to expand the project by increasing the capacity of its container yard without any construction. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers has rendered their agreement for the proposal tabled by Prime Minister for the introduction of new equipment by investing $90 million.
When Tati bought a new family car, it wasn't just for the 4 of us.
It's a 10-seater van. Enough for friends and relatives too.
Mummy insisted on building an extra room in our new house.
Well, you never know who'll come to stay. We need more pillows too.
When I was studying late, Nangi would come by to help.
No, I don't know physics, but I do know you need a Munchie Super Cream Cracker.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others.
When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves.
Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan නෙවෙයි.
Sports News is brought to you by
Munchie Chocolate Cream Biscuit. Chocolate in every bite.
And on sports news, cricket. India have left injured batsman Rohit Sharma and pace bowler Ishant Sharma out of their squad for their tour of Australia next month. Ishant will miss the remainder of the ongoing Indian Premier League in the United Arab Emirates after suffering an abdominal muscle tear. Rohit has missed Mumbai Indians' last 2 games with a hamstring injury. Both will be assessed before the tour, which includes 4 tests, 3 one-day internationals and 3 2020s. Rohit averages 46.54 with the bat in 32 tests, while Ishant has taken 297 wickets from 97 5-day appearances.
Hey guys, we've got our very own Queen Bear here to review something for us.
Okay, here we go. It's the right amount of crunch and OMG, so much chocolate. The texture is so good. It's creamy and velvety and just so much chocolate. The packaging is super cool and new and there's like so much chocolate. And OMG, the taste, it tastes like so good and there's so much chocolate. Like with every bite. 10 out of 10 for me.
Munchie Chocolate Cream Biscuit. Chocolate in every bite.
Empower your dreams with NSB Wings. NSB Wings. Reach out the high goals.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's premier private sector commercial bank and pioneer in the field of SME banking, Hatton National Bank PLC, recently announced a landmark agreement with Propaco, the private sector funding arm of the French Development Bank, to secure $60 million in funding. Jonathan Nels, managing director, CEO of H&B, stated that through this long-term funding, H&B will be in a position to support the much aggrieved SME segment of the nation.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The wait is over and it's time for you to experience happiness. It's time to remap the graph for success. It's time to rebuild your empire. It's time to initiate your entrepreneur dreams. Empower your dreams with NSB Wings. Get your 2-year personal loan for just 7% per annum, starting from 500,000 rupees to 10 million rupees. All you need is just one guarantee. NSB Wings. Recharge the high goals.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Hello, Puta. Did you land already?
We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy.
Calm down, everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge.
LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
And on economic news, the COVID-19 has disrupted agriculture and supply chains in every corner of the globe. Firms in the supply chain have been tested and some have to transform their business model. In Sri Lanka, where nearly a quarter of the population is employed in the agriculture sector, the focus has shifted towards developing this sector and strengthening the supply chains. One of the key sessions of the Sri Lanka Economic Summit 2020 will be on the timely topic of post-pandemic agriculture opportunity in a crisis. SLES 2020, the premier economic forum this year too, will have a lineup of contemporary dialogues under this year's theme, Roadmap for Takeoff, Driving a People-Centric Economic Revival.
Congratulations on your promotion. It will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
And on the weather update, the Department of Meteorological Department says the showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the Uva, Eastern and North Central provinces and in Hambantota, Mullaitivu and Vavuniya districts in the afternoon. Fairly heavy falls above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places, particularly in the Uva province and in Trincomalee and Ampara districts. That's the weather update. Back to the headlines. U.S. Secretary of State to hold bilateral discussions with the Sri Lankan leadership. The Prime Minister says while lockdowns and health precautions can be difficult on everyone, sometimes it's necessary to keep people safe. World Bank commends Sri Lanka on COVID-19 mitigation steps. COVID-19 cases from Minuwangoda, Paliyagoda cluster surpasses 5,000 mark. Relief for non-payment of monthly electricity bills in curfew areas. CEB to expedite construction of 100 kilowatt solar power plants. International news, US-India signed pact to boost military cooperation. Sports, cricket. Rohit Sharma and Ishant Sharma left out of tour squad.